Hi everybody, it's Caroline here and welcome to my channel, and today I am working with the brand new bonus collection from Tracy Reed, which is an extra collection that she has released this March, and this is completely free. So I will make sure to link Tracy's website below so you can go along and pick up this free printable and digital collection. It's absolutely brilliant. It's called Tempest. I love the colour palette with these purples and this distressing, and it has 6 3x4 cards, and one of them is absolutely fab because it has a quote from Rachel Green from Friends, and that's one. As soon as I saw that, I knew I'd have to use it on my first layout, and I will be using it today. And I'm just skipping through the Traveller's Notebook sized papers here. I've printed all of the ones from the collection. Really gorgeous. I just wanted to show you them quickly so that you could see the full palette and the gorgeous distressing that Tracy manages to get onto her printables. I don't know how she does it. She's a magician. It's fantastic that she's able to get so much detail and so much texture onto a printed piece of paper. It's just brilliant. You'll also see 2 little pots, white pots up on the top of the screen there, and those are some of the die cuts. Again, with Tracy's collections, she always gives you loads and loads of sticker sheets, die cuts, and I've printed them all out. I'm fairly sure that this one, I think there were three sheets again, and this is a free collection, so completely free. There are no strings attached. You just need to follow along and subscribe, I think, to her newsletter, and then you get all of this for free. So you'll see there that I've got 2 photos printed off that I'm going to be working with today. I'm only going to use one of these, but I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to use the full Traveller's Notebook size or that smaller version of the same photo. Both are really good. I'm really happy with the way that the larger one printed out, but because I have this full collection to work with, I'm leaning towards the smaller photo so that I can bring in 2 full background pieces of paper. But I'm going to show you what it would roughly look like with the large photo and the small photo. So if I use the small photo, I want to work with the background paper with the raindrops on and those dashed lines. I know I want to use that quote from Rachel as a card, and also I've pulled out a journaling card to pop my journaling on. So I would imagine that my design will have something like that, the photo on the left-hand side and then the 2 journaling cards. If I use the large photo, I will embellish on the top part of the photo, and then I'll still use that quote card from Rachel, but I will cut the raindrop paper into a tag and pop that behind it and use it for hidden journaling. I know I will probably want to bring in some of the papers from the collection as a photo stack, a matte stack behind my photo, just to bring in some of those gorgeous textures and colours. And what I'm doing here is just showing you the Traveller's Notebook, disc-bound Traveller's Notebook that I'm working with. And very often I work with a slightly wider size. I extend my papers to 5 inches. These are a true Traveller's Notebook, so they're 4.25 inches wide. And I'm going to just stick with that standard Traveller's Notebook size today. So I have decided to work with the small photo, and what I'm doing is I've used my inspiration from this small tag piece to decide that rather than stacking the journal card on top of the quote card, I'm going to create an interactive element. So I'm going to actually stack them on top of each other and use a brad so that I can swing the pieces out, and as you work down, you'll find my journaling underneath, but you'll also have some paper layers with some more added embellishment and some interesting quotes. There's lots of really fun motifs and word bits in this collection, so I really wanted to bring in quite a few of those, but I wanted that quote from Rachel to be my kind of focal point on the right hand side. So what you'll see me doing now is basically just building up a stack of papers. I'm going to be using a journal card and just some of the pattern papers, the little tag, to layer them up using my paper piercer to just create little tiny holes at the moment, because I want to make sure, little tip, that I know that my journaling is going to go on the bottom or one of the bottom layers of this paper stack, and where the brad goes, I need to make sure that I put my journaling low enough that when I turn or when I rotate the layers above, you don't have any of the journaling kind of under the section at the very top of the journaling card where those other paper stacks have rotated to. And I will kind of I haven't described that very well verbally, but I will demonstrate in a moment that I need to make sure that I don't write above a certain point on my journal card. So what I will be doing is just testing everything out and then drawing a little tiny line with pencil just so that I know where to stop. So here is my finished stack. Nothing's adhered down at the moment. It's all just put together with a brad though, and I'm going to go through and ink all of the edges with distress ink. This is Faded Jeans. It's a nice navy blue colour, and it works really, really well with the palette, this collection, and it just helps all of those edges that I've trimmed off. My blade and my trimmer does need a bit of a change, so it helps them all. You can't see the white core to my card. Everything, it's got a nice blue tone to the edge, so it's a nice soft edge. My photo at the moment is just positioned over on that angle on the left hand side. I know I want to interact with those lines and add some stitching on there, so I'm just going to have a final flip through and decide. I know I'm going to put up an embellishment onto that cloud paper, probably another sentiment just underneath on that pennant, and here's where I'm going to make sure that I put a little line so that I don't write any higher than that on my journaling card, so that everything is always legible. And then I'll probably pop another one of those really fun sentiments onto that bottom blue layer. So next will be for me to just adhere that paper stack down onto this background paper, pop in my journaling, and then also work on this left hand side. So as I said, I'm going to want to build up a paper stack behind the photo, and to make everything really cohesive, I'm just going to use the offcuts from the paper stack on the other side, so that I've got the same kind of repeated patterns on both sides of the spread. I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine in a moment before I stick the photo down and just add in some messy stitching. I was toying with the idea of using a white gel pen to do some journaling on top of those diagonal lines, but I've decided to just make them a design feature instead, so that's why I've added in some messy stitching. And I'll be just, rather than trimming off the ends of my stitching, I want to make a feature of the fact it's really messy, so I'm just popping down a little bit of adhesive and then just smooshing all of the tail ends of the threads together so that it's nice and messy and distressed. And when Tracy adds in distress into her collections, and she often does that, it's not on all of her collections, but it's often on some of them, it suits my style really, really well, because I'm definitely a messy scrapper, I'm a messy stamper, a messy sewer, so it works really well for me that it's that I get to just do things like that, use the ends of my threads as an embellishment or as a feature rather than trying to make everything super neat. Now that I've adhered down that paper stack, I'm actually just orientating it so that it sits on top of the mixed media that Tracy's put in the background, and then I'll be using that as a focal point to build up a little embellishment cluster on the top left and the bottom right of that paper stack. But first I just wanted to punch out my holes, because I'm working in that disc bound album, so there are a few more holes than if you was working in just a binder album. So I wanted to bring in some of the really fun sentiments, but also these gorgeous cloud motifs into my embellishment clusters, and I had planned to just do that bottom left and top right, but then as I start going, I just decided to just whack all of the clouds from the die cut sheet onto this project, because that is the beauty of a printable collection. I love the clouds, I want to use them again, so I'm just going to print that sheet out again and print and cut, and then I've got all of them to use on a different project. So they work really, really well. There's different sizes, as you can see. The tones and the colours and the patterns match so beautifully that they work so well for layering. So just popping up with pop dots, putting between the layers of the photo mat, putting under the layers of the paper stack, and it's just really helps to add depth and added interest. And I just love this project. I really, really do. It's telling the story of the one day that we have had snow here in the UK this winter. even though it's actually theoretically meant to be nearly spring now. We had a snowfall and I went out in my boots that have been a really trusty pair of boots, and unfortunately it was more slush than snow and my boots leaked dreadfully. So I was only halfway on my journey to where I was going and they'd already leaked, and then I had the entire morning with soaking wet feet, soaking wet socks, and I still had to trudge back in the snow, in the slush, getting squelchier and squelchier as I went. So it was so funny because I managed to snap this photo of my feet and it was unplanned, but my trousers match the colour tone of the purple, of the kind of plum and purple in this collection really well. So as soon as I saw Tracy's preview of what the collection was going to look like, I knew exactly what photo I wanted to use with my first project using it. Now that I've built up those layers with those clouds, I'm going to move this sentiment piece so that it's actually underneath the paper stack, so that as you turn, you just get that added interest, that added little hints of embellishment and just fun. And I think that works well. It looked good up in the top when I only had the one cloud, but because I've added more clouds, I just didn't want to detract from that motif that I'd put up there instead. So I thought, but I still wanted that sentiment in my spread. So that was the great thing with an interactive paper stack. You can add in embellishments and more interest as you turn the papers. So here is the finished layout in my album and I absolutely love it. I love the interactive nature of it. I'm going to give you a little flip through at the moment so you can see what the final stack looks like. And I will decide that I'm going to add in one more word bit onto the bottom layer. So you'll see me toy with that idea in a moment and I'll just pop it into the stack to adhere down afterwards. This collection is brilliant. I know I'm going to work with it for quite a few stories. I've actually found some sequins in my stash that are the perfect mix. I was going to add them onto this layout, but I've decided to save those. So you'll see in a moment that I bring those in and then pop them to the top of my desk. And that's just so that I make sure I keep them with the collection so that I can do a shaker pocket with my next project with this. So I will make sure that I put Tracy's shop link in the description box below so that you can head over there and grab this free collection. It's great if you've never worked with printables or digital scrapbooking before and you wanted to give it a go, but you didn't want to waste any pennies in case you weren't sure if you liked it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've liked this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, and if you don't, please subscribe. Bye.